Welcome. This is Laura Williamson, and this is Bear Speak. It's so good to be back with you again. Today, we got another awesome speaker and also a dear friend of mine. This is Mar De Carlo. And Mar, I don't think I can do you justice. So even though I introduced you, I'm going to let you finish up the introduction and give us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Laura. First, I wanted to say it feels so good to connect with you. As Laura was saying, we go way, way back in the early days as we were getting started in our health and fitness path.
This
And
is
so
true.
to still be connected all these years later, I mean, it's been a long time.
It has
This is
been.
many, like 3 decades, over 3 decades or something. So to be here together and to be part of this, I just want to say I'm very grateful for it. And it's just so great to connect.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the introduction. My name is Mar De Carlo. I am the founder of the International Parenting and Health Institute, which I founded in 2009. We're an educational organization that provides certification programs for coaches in the specialized areas of parenting, specifically in pregnancy, child, teen, and adult sleep, in baby planning and postnatal nutrition, eco consulting, breastfeeding, education, and so much more. We also provide mentoring for coaches who want to level up their business as well.
Okay. Okay, so Mara, that's a whole lot that you're doing right there. And so my thing is you have a plethora of things, but I've asked you some questions, so I'm gonna follow your lead on this. And now that you okay, so let me just give a little bit of history. So Mara and I, we used to work together 100 years ago. I don't want to give the years because I don't know if we're giving our ages or not. I haven't really thrown mine out there, but I date myself on a regular basis here. Not because I'm ashamed, but at any rate, it's been quite the journey, the path, if you will. But I'm going to start with the easiest question of you. I saw it says that you are a holistic coach. Is that an accurate title for you?
Yeah, holistic coach and mentor. So I started out in the health and wellness space many, many years ago, specifically starting out in group exercise, personal training. That evolved into coaching.
Okay.
This is really before holistic coaching became a thing. I feel like it's been more recent in the last 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
But if you were to look at the trajectory of my path and what I was doing way back then, it was pretty much holistic coaching.
Okay. So what makes you different if that's the case? What's the difference between a regular coach and a holistic coach or a holistic coaching style, if that's appropriate?
Yes, that's a great question. Holistic coaching expands upon the coaching world. So, as we know, coaches empower their clients. They're not trying to fix their clients. They're not telling them what to do per se, but what they're doing is that they're helping them understand where they're stuck, how to get unstuck by collaborating with them, right? They go through a whole path of doing that, helping them attain their goals. What a holistic coach does is a holistic coach dives further. We go deeper to understand what and where those patterns stemmed from, where their thoughts are coming from, what led them to this point, so that they can break a pattern that has existed maybe from childhood or maybe in their family lineage. And we dive deep really to uncover the root cause of what's going on, because sometimes your goal may be, I want to level up my business, and a regular coach can certainly do that very effectively. However, you may be holding yourself back because of something much deeper in your business. And so, what a holistic coach does is it just dives a little bit deeper to understand where that's coming from, if that's an identity issue based on your experiences, your self worth has been affected as a result, and so on. We also dive deep into many other things in terms of the relationships, nutrition. So we're looking at evaluating an entire person's health and lifestyle, which includes their whole history of where they came from and what led them to this point.
Okay. So, okay, because I've known you for so long, I found it interesting. Well, no, not really, because I remember visiting you in New York and you were pregnant. You were pregnant with with your daughter at the time, right? And so I remember that, and I remember some of the transitions because I have to admit, and I'm going to say this about you, you navigate change like a champ. Like you have no, this is honest. This is, I've seen you endure so much change. And I don't, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe the word endure is not the word because that implies that it's been difficult and challenging. But what I will say is it would appear that you've done it with ease, and you've done a lot, and you've taken on a lot of different roles. And a lot of people have, it's difficult for them to, it's challenging to change can be very, very challenging for a lot of people. But what I'm observing of you is that you've kind of, I feel like you're like a trailblazer in a sense that you've kind of put yourself on your own path. There was a path, and if it didn't work, then you took another one, you took another one, and you took another one. So in speaking to that, and because for me this is about empowerment for others listening to, and relatability, how is it that you do it with such grace and ease? Because I think it's a
Thank you for
beautiful
that.
thing.
I really appreciate that. And you are correct. It's been challenging. It's been very, very difficult. There's been moments where I've even asked myself how and why. I've been through so much. And there's been a sense in me from a young age of a connection to life, a purpose, understanding that it's a gift to be on this planet, and whatever it is that I can do to discover what that is. And in the moment, if I'm going through a challenge, understanding that there's something deeper for me to learn. That's what's really kept me going. It's understanding, having that trust on my path that if something's not going my way, then it's probably because I'm not seeing something I have to learn about, or I'm not understanding something that I have to learn about that I yet have to discover. And it's going to be okay. And that is, I'm really grateful for it, because that is one of the reasons when people ask me, I was asked this on another interview recently, what can you help people with most? And it's exactly that, whether it's a coach who's stuck or whether it's an individual who's stuck and they feel like there's no way out. They're navigating this change in their life that feels completely uncomfortable, and to the point where they just don't want to deal with it anymore. They want to hide. They're just like in, freeze mode, for example. Because I've been through that, I'm definitely the kind of person that can show up for someone and hold the space and help them to understand it, see the light, and then take action to move through it. Because what I say is the harder the change, the greater the opportunity. So oftentimes we think, oh, this is why me? This is so difficult. But the reality is, if it's that challenging, then the flip side of that is the greater the reward. And if you can see that and you allow yourself to trust the process, as challenging and as uncomfortable as it might feel, it is worth it. When you get through the other side, it is worth it. So you're correct. I've navigated a number of challenges, from relationship challenges to business challenges to environmental living, everything. And thankfully, I've had this capacity to see, okay, you're going through this, not just for yourself, but to help other people.
Okay. So before we delve a little bit deeper into you, how did you start? How did you start with everything that you're doing? The mentoring, the mentorship, the coaching, I mean, I know you were a trainer, so on and so forth, but tell us about your institute. I want to know about that. I want to know everything about that.
To give a brief synopsis, I started out in the health and fitness space many years ago, after I had come at a crossroads from college and I was working at an office job and it was very sedentary. And then I joined a gym. I took a group exercise class. I immediately fell in love. I said, oh my goodness, people do this for a living. Love getting up in front of people, because in my background, I also have creative arts and performance. I love music and dancing. This is the best of every world. So I went on that path immediately. I started with group exercise, got my certification there, started working for a small gym, then got my personal training. And then from there, I graduated. I joined the Sports Club LA. You and I met through an office, and that's how that started.
Right.
And then on that path, as there were many changes happening in my life, naturally through group exercise and through personal training, especially when you're personal training, there's a coaching element already happening there.
Okay.
You're
Yep.
already working with individuals. you already are hearing, besides their fitness goals, you're hearing about other areas of their life and what they're going through and the
Right.
challenges that they're facing and things that they're overcoming. So from that, I naturally began understanding coaching, what it means to be a coach, and being very well aware of the language that I use, the questions that are being asked, how I'm showing up for a client. So that began early on. And then when I transitioned into the back end of the fitness world, where
Mm-hmm.
I became an assistant fitness manager, and then later on in New York, I became a Group X manager, and then a little bit of a time of a fitness manager. I got to understand from the flip side, from the professional side, what they were going through and the
Mm-hmm.
coaching that they needed to level up and show up better for their classes or for their clients. From the customer side, I was dealing with supporting the customers at the gym at the same time, their complaints,
Mm-hmm.
learning how to navigate complaints that they had, and just the whole mix of it. So, coaching, interestingly enough, I gave birth to me actually through just naturally through the way that people were showing up in my life. But
Mm-hmm.
then more formally, I began with well coaches. With Margaret Moore, she was one of the pioneers and early on with the coaching. And I remember taking that certification and then diving much deeper into more of the questioning and the discovery process and showing up for people in just a very different way than I had been used to physically, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then those worlds began merging. But then as I naturally continued my learning and discovery, Pilates and yoga and taking all these retreats and just taking many different certifications, I began to see the connections between all of them
Mm-hmm.
and also the disconnect between all of them. And especially when I became pregnant, that's when I clearly began to see and understand from the parenting side all of the things that I learned and all of the things that were disconnected. Like I was hearing all this advice about how to give birth and what was appropriate for my child. And some of that advice was very conflicting. And then having the background that I had, I said, wow, it must be very challenging for people to be in this situation and not have the background that I have to navigate through all of this and also have a sense of grounding. Because by that point, I had done a lot of yoga and meditation. So I had things where I could more deeply connect to my intuitive guidance to
Okay.
work through all that. And
Mm-hmm.
especially since I didn't have friends, close friends, I had friends, but not close friends and family nearby. So navigating through all of that was challenging, but at the same time, with my background, I got through it. So that's what gave me the initial idea to start the International Parenting and Health Institute, because what had happened is I had already by that point been coaching many clients through the pregnancy world from my experience. And when I had undergone a very difficult situation and became a single mother and moved away from my relationship and had to take care of my daughter on my own, I said, should I go back to the gym and to the health and fitness, take on a full time gig there? What should I do? And my parents were telling me to do that. But something intuitively said, no, that's not your path. That's not the answer. Just hold on. So I did. And I remember sending out an email to my community and my email list, sharing that I was looking for at the time someone to possibly take on clients temporarily or maybe to mentor with me. And what ended up happening is I had three women that responded to me from different locations saying, well, we don't want to take over your business or your clients or necessarily get into mentoring from you specifically, but what we'd like to do is we'd actually like to know how you got to where you are and started your business. And we've kind of been watching what you're doing and we like it. And can we learn from you and how you can help us do what you're doing? And that's when a light bulb went off and I said, oh my goodness, this is great. I have an opportunity to actually share with other people how they can start and grow their own business doing what I'm doing. And that's going to reach more clients, more than I ever could by myself. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if I support other people to do this, then they can help clients. And I just envisioned that and it was huge. So I started out with three women. I put together a program. And see, thankfully from my background at the Sports Club LA, which is now Equinox,
Mm-hmm.
because of that background and all of that training that I had with the 5-star service on the front end, on the back
Mm-hmm.
end, I understood the importance of compliance. I understood the importance of having contracts and agreements. I understood the importance of having a scope and boundaries to practice and how to show up in that manner. So when these women showed up, I immediately knew I needed to develop and create something. I didn't have it ready. So many of you who are out there wondering, sometimes we're afraid to take a step forward in our
Mm-hmm.
life because we feel we're not ready. On one hand, I wasn't ready. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have this program set up for these women. But on the other hand, my path showed me I was ready, because if I wasn't ready, these 3 women would not have shown up.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I had to take a leap of faith and trust that all of the training that I had and all the experience that I had up until this point was
Mm-hmm.
appropriate and a perfect fit for these women. So immediately I got to work. When my daughter was napping, I was spending my time putting together agreement, contract, developing a scope and boundaries to practice for our industry, for the business, really tailoring everything that was necessary to get this going. I put together an enrollment form and I had these women sign up
Okay.
overnight, literally overnight. So it was phenomenal. That's how my institute started in the very beginning back in 2009, specifically August.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's been 16 years later. We're in 70 countries around the world. I look back and I go, whoa. And I'll tell you, it's very similar to giving birth and having a child and going through all different stages of development. When you start and grow a business, you look back and you go, wow, look what I've been through. But it's a continuous growth process. So people look at my life now and go, wow, she's got this business in 70 countries, 16 years. That's phenomenal. However, I will tell you that even with that, I'm going through some massive continuous changes, massive continuing learning and growth. Just because I got to this point doesn't mean that I stop here. Life is still challenging me in many other ways where I still have yet room to grow quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Who is your ideal client or student? Who do you
Yes.
work with?
So, right now, through the Institute, my ideal client would be someone who is looking to level up their coaching.
Okay.
We do accept and invite people who are looking to start a coaching business. But because we are highly specialized in the areas of sleep, postnatal nutrition, and so on, really the ideal clients that we're servicing are established coaches or licensed medical professionals like therapists, doctors, pediatricians, dentists,
Mm-hmm.
nurses, for example, who are looking to expand into coaching. So they have an established business and either they're a coach looking to bring on a specialty. So maybe they're a life coach and they're like, oh, my clients ask a lot about sleep. I'm
Okay.
going to specialize in taking a sleep certification. Or maybe they are a pediatrician that most people are not aware of this, but doctors only get about 4 to 6 hours of sleep education in medical school, which is not a lot. And in that education for sleep, it's really medically based. So they're not really learning the standard foundations of what it takes to guide a family through child sleep, for example, from pregnancy through child development, right? They just understand it from a very narrow, small lens. And so that's where we come in. So we help pediatricians, therapists, nurses, like I said, coaches expand upon their business by adding the specialty of pregnancy, child, teen, adult sleep coaching, postnatal, and so on. But the cool thing about it also is while we specialize in those areas, we also bring the overall foundation of coaching as a whole. So they
Okay.
learn what it means to be a coach from the mainstream coaching, and then we just bring it into more depth. So we add the specialty, but then there's a lot of personal development. There's elements of NLP. There's elements of motivational interviewing. There's elements of sensory body, embodied work. So all of that is brought in through it as well.
So, do I have to be a coach to come to you and be a part of your institute? Do I need to already be a trainer? Do I need to be a doctor, physician? Can I just be a normal layperson who says, you know what, this is my calling. I feel something deep within, or I'm just interested in doing this. How do I go about doing that?
Absolutely. We are the perfect institution for that. I would say it's about 50-50. 50% of our clients are in that situation where they're
Okay.
looking to transition from their day-to-day job that they've done for a while, but they want to do something more meaningful, something more rewarding. They love helping people. That's about 50% of our clientele. And the other 50% are the pediatricians, the doctors, the therapists. We accommodate everybody, and everyone who works with us understands the level of depth that we go. We want to ensure that everybody's learning experience is one where you're not just coming in and you're learning the theory and taking some quizzes and some exams and you're done. There's a huge practical component. And we're also very much old school when it comes to customer service. Again, I thank the Sports Club LA for this,
Yes.
that 5-star service,
Service.
because especially in today's day and age with the AI and with all the robots taking over, the gift and the of connection and the power of connection, when you have that interaction, when you know someone, an actual human's on the other side listening to you, you're writing in for a question and you have an actual human answering you, and they want to help you navigate that learning experience, that goes a long way. And while we do teach that AI can be very helpful and we teach how to use it ethically, and within our scope and boundaries to practice, at the same time, it cannot replace human connection
This is true.
and that human navigation. So that part we're very strong with.
What are your most requested certifications? Which ones specifically?
Right now, it's sleep. I would say pregnancy, child, teen, and adult sleep are, even though we teach baby planning, postnatal nutrition comes second. The reason for that, and the reason it comes second, is because we do get a lot of coaches from the Integrative Institute of
Yeah.
Nutrition, right?
Yep.
IIN.
I graduated from IIN
Okay, yeah, we have a lot of
many
their
years
graduates
ago.
who come and they take our postnatal nutrition simply because they're already on that path, but they want
Okay.
to specialize. They want to go a little further. So we have a lot of IIN graduates that take our nutrition. We have registered dietitians who, although they have so much value in what they've learned, they just want to add another specialty. So they come to us. So sleep is our top. Right underneath that would be postnatal nutrition.
Okay. So you bring up IIN. And for me, my first nutrition cert was through IIN. And I remember, I won't name names, I remember someone saying to me, really? How are you liking IIN? You going to IIN? And I'm like, yeah. And he asked, what is that like? I said, it's good. And he was like, well, I really can't see you at IIN. And I was like, well, why? He says, well, because, and excuse me, this is not meant to be offensive. I am an IIN graduate, so I'm going to say it anyway. He's like, well, it's pretty earthy crunchy. And I was like, okay. So I am not sure how to take that. And I thought, okay, so do I not seem earthy, crunchy? But I understood what he meant. And obviously, it's a holistic feel, and it's about individuality and catering to that person's uniqueness and who they are as a unique individual, and respecting the fact that there is bio-individuality and so on and so forth. And it's not necessarily always science-based. I also have precision nutrition, which is more science-based. However, precision nutrition has taken on a holistic feeling, even though they have a science base. So my question to you is this: does someone have to have a holistic sense about them or a belief in order to be the type of coach, or the kind of coach that you are? And I just say you have a holistic belief system, right? You believe in the entire person from the inside out, which I am that type of trainer also. But does a person have to have a holistic belief system in order to get
Thank you.
your
That's a great
certification?
question. No, they don't. In fact, we do get a lot of sleep trainers, mainstream child sleep trainers that have studied child sleep training traditionally, and then they come and learn from us, and we provide another holistic aspect. Now, here's the thing. Science is always evolving. So
Right.
to always refer to science like it's the end all and be all, I always put caution to that, right? Because science is always evolving. You can't just say, oh, it's backed by science, therefore this is the ultimate truth. What I will say is that all of the education and theory that we share is backed by science. However, we challenge it. See, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's backed by science. I'll give you an example. At some point, child sleep was understood that it's something to be taught, that a child needed to be taught how to sleep. And at that point in time, there was research and scientific backing to promote that.
Okay.
As we've evolved as humans and as more research has come out and more science has come out and evolved, and now the worlds are merging, these different worlds are merging because now we're all connected globally, and now
Mm-hmm.
more people from different professions are talking to one another, thankfully. Now we come to understand that no, child sleep does not need to be taught. It's always been known, but it hasn't really been brought to the forefront in this way, that it's a function of the body, doesn't need to be taught. A child is going to be learning, like anything in their child development, how to regulate, how to consolidate, and so many factors. But really, as parents, what we're doing is we're understanding what's getting in the way. We're going to encourage and support their sleep development, but we have to find out what's getting in the way. But this notion that we have to teach them that at this modern stage and understanding, having all the research we have, we know that that's a myth. That's, if someone says that to you, they're misleading you. So my point with all of this is that science can only take you so far. Challenging it, that's how we become pioneers. Questioning it and challenging it is also what makes it scientific.
Okay.
I encourage each and every one of our participants slash students, I call them both, to always challenge and question, because that is how we grow. And that's what really a true scientist is. There's someone that will continue to experiment. They will continue to challenge the system. What if we try this? Well, what about that? How does that work? When you come it from that angle, okay, because that's what really, the term holistic, that's where it comes from. I know, unfortunately, some people associate it with, and again, there's nothing wrong with earthy crunchy. Earthy crunchy is good because we want to welcome the earth. I mean, that's where we come from. We're nature.
Right.
So
Right.
we do want to invite it. But I understand how that terminology is being used and why it's being used. It's
Right.
almost, in a way, it's being used to dismiss the holistic aspect of it. But the true term holistic means whole.
Right.
And whole is coming from expanding your perspective. So rather than narrowing in on just one area, so how a doctor will narrow in on one area, let's say even eye, ear, nose, throat specialist will narrow in there. What we're doing is we're taking a step back. We're going, okay, we've narrowed in. We've looked at this specific issue going on. Now we're going to take a step back and we're going to see how everything else surrounding that is connected to it, so that we have a larger and deeper understanding of what's going on. And by doing so, we can actually uncover something deeper that might need to be addressed that was not seen before, because we didn't have the ability to take a step back and look at the whole picture. You see
Right.
what I mean? So it's actually even more scientific and more true to science to be able to do both, to narrow in and to take a step back and then connect it all together.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask one more question because we are running low on time. I want to talk about your books just very briefly, because I noticed that you also have books. So can you just give us just a little bit of information on your books? Like I said, I know we're running out of time, but I at least wanted to go there for a little bit. Tell us about your books.
So I've written 3 books so far. The first one I launched in 2010, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I launched our first baby planner certification program. It's called Baby Planner Profession, What Do You Need to Know? And basically, it's a book about the whole profession of baby planning. If you are someone that are maybe a doula, maybe you are a newborn care specialist, and you really want to help parents navigate their world from pregnancy to postpartum through all the decision making and help them understand what's available, et cetera. I wrote this book so you can understand this world, and also as a foundation for our programs. Because one of the reasons I wrote my books is to give people that foundation, the credibility and the foundation of the approach, what we're about, how we're forming our certification programs. Because through these books, people now have a deeper understanding of like, oh, I get it. I get how Mar is thinking. I get how she's formulating her approach. And therefore, it gives them a clear understanding whether they want to pursue a path. Awakening Through Sleep, which is actually it's my third book. I have a book called for eco consulting, Green Body, Green Birth. And that was just a book that I wrote to help people understand that while we can be so concerned externally with the environment, what's more important, and you can, of course, relate to this, Laura, from our world,
Mm-hmm.
what's just as important is what we have in control, which is our body.
Right.
So, how we're taking care of our body, through exercise, through nutrition, through our own thoughts and beliefs, because you can try to navigate and control all the external toxins. And okay, it's good to be aware of your products and what is toxins, but if inside of yourself you're full of negativity, you're constantly complaining, you're not sleeping well, your foods and your nutrition are limiting your absorption of nutrients, etc., and depleting you of nutrients, then there's only so far. You can also damage yourself and you can become very toxic physically from the way you're treating your body. So that's what Green Body, Green Birth's about. And it's specifically talked about pregnancy, et cetera. And then lastly, Awakening Through Sleep. I wrote that book twofold. First, for the professional world, and then also for parents, because that book just really helps people understand that the world of child sleep goes way beyond sleep training. There's a very deep connection between the parental relationship and the child relationship, how the parents think, and how they approach child sleep, their own energy and temperament, and the child's. And then I challenge certain terms like sleep regression, sleep associations. I challenge many terms. This way it gets people thinking. It gets people thinking, reflecting, challenging the system, approaching things differently, and then also from a sense of compassion, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. There's only so much that we can navigate at one time, and we all are really doing the best that we can. And so I do my best to communicate through compassion and with the understanding that we're learning, we're growing, and with new information, we can empower ourselves.
Okay, so two more questions, if I may. So, children having difficulty sleeping. This is a very serious situation. I mean, it's something that occurs with every parent. Is it something that we should be looking at overall as a society? Like, hey, parents need more help with this. Like, just to touch on
Children
that.
and adults. So if you
Okay.
look into the statistics for sleep,
Okay.
it's sleep deprivation's on the rise.
Right.
And the interesting thing about that is that it's connected to everything. So someone suffers a breakup, they're going to have a hard time sleeping. Someone
Okay.
loses their job, they're going to have a hard time sleeping. Someone just gave birth, the mother's recovering, she's having a hard time recovering. That's going to affect her child, which will most likely affect her sleep and their sleep. So everything is tied to our ability to relax, right? In order to sleep, our nervous system needs to be in a parasympathetic state, right? So not sympathetic fight or flight. And there's many things that we do during the day and within our life that can either support the sleep process and help us get into a easy state of falling asleep and staying asleep, or it can hinder the process. And in addition to that, with all the processed foods today, and
Mm-hmm.
with the overwhelm and stimulation of screens,
Mm-hmm.
all the blue lights at
Mm-hmm.
night, so much
Mm-hmm.
going on, you can imagine all of that is adding another layer of hindrance. So the sleep world is a very big one, not just for children, but for adults as well. And that's why it's our number one program, and why we are having a huge amount of therapists, doctors, nurses come forward, dentists even saying, hey, this is huge for our patients. We need to dive deeper into this area. And then also from the other side, like you said, we have a lot of participants and students who they themselves underwent sleep challenges, whether
Mm-hmm.
it was with their child or they themselves as an adult. They struggled so much, but they came out on the other side. Now they want to give back, but maybe they're in a 9 to 5 job that's not really their calling. Now they're looking to turn their life around and do something with their life that's giving back. And then they find the world of sleep coaching and they go, oh my goodness, I can turn this into a career. And so then we have them as well.
What's your last bit of advice for anyone who's interested in coaching, is having difficulty with their own sleep patterns, or their children are having what's your last bit of advice for anyone out there?
Make it a priority
Mm-hmm.
because you're worth it to make it this priority.
Mm-hmm.
To slow down and add moments, pauses in your day-to-day life where you get to just sit with yourself, with your body, with your breath, and have a moment to just be with yourself so that you can listen and feel your body. Your body's always communicating to you. It might say, I got a neck pain or something else, or I just feel tired today, or it might tell you it feels good. But get into the habit of slowing down to listen to your body. Listen, is your body telling you you're thirsty, you're hungry, you're tired, you're upset about something, you're trying to avoid something, you're stuffing something down? We will not have the ability to do that unless we start to slow down and unless we make it a priority to have some downtime. And that literally can just be a few minutes. You don't have to go and take a yoga class, although I teach yoga and I encourage all of you take yoga meditation. Okay. But the reality is not everybody's going to have that time available in this moment. But what you can do is you can say, you know what? I have a little bit of a lunch break. And while I spend a lot of that time on my phone and catching up on emails or calling so and so and gossiping or whatever it is, the latest drama, I'm going to prioritize taking 3 to 5 minutes of that time to slow down and quiet down. Now, initially, I will tell you, it can feel extremely uncomfortable. If you've never done that before and you do it for the first time, it's going to feel like a whole bunch of things are flying at you and it might feel so uncomfortable you don't want to do it. So, in that case, for those of you that are in that position and are not used to that, what I would recommend is getting to know there's a variety of apps from the Calm app. I know Sadhguru just launched a really great app with 7 minutes of tuning into meditation. There's so many tools now that you could use for guidance. So you could do like a guided breath, a guided meditation, a guided reflection. So you can start initially with that, although ideally you want no tools, like meaning you just want to be with yourself. Also nature. If you have the ability, you are near a park, or near the outdoor, just take a step outside, take a breath of fresh air, feel your body against the air around you, against your environment. Really take it in, become very present with your space. So there's a number of ways to do it, but my ultimate advice for everyone, which is a huge part of healing, it's honestly, it's like medicinal, it's therapeutic, it serves you on every level, from making the decisions you're going to make about your business, your relationships, your health, is to slow down and begin to just listen to yourself, feel yourself. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself because you become empowered. Many of us are so used to everyone giving us advice, right? From everywhere. Even this interview, Mar, what would you advise? And it's all great. Take it in, welcome it. But there's nothing like you also becoming the master of your own inner guidance and your own inner wisdom. So prioritize that because you're worth it. You're worth taking the time to slow down and learn about yourself through yourself. And when you do that, it's a gift that will stay with you forever. And honestly, when Laura asked me much earlier, like, Mar, how do you navigate all this change? From a very young age, it could have been through therapy because when I was a very, very young girl, I had gone through sexual molestation. So not actual, the act of sex, but sexual molestation, which then came out to my parents. And then from a very young age, I think I was about 7 or 8, I started therapy, which for children, which that then allowed me to, I think, open up that observant mode from a young age and take that space. And then anyway, and I was very inquisitive and I got into a lot of self-discovery things. So from a very young age, I've always understood that if I just listen, if I just take some space, if I just trust this process, I'm going to be spoken to, right? Like my inner guidance is going to lead me. So that's a living proof. I'm a living proof of, Laura, all the things I've been through.
Right.
That's something that can just be such a great support. And especially when you have no one else. Not that you don't. You could always reach out and ask for help, but there were moments where I might have felt ashamed, embarrassed, guilty to reach out to someone. I didn't have family or friends close by. And it really saved me to be able to quiet down, slow down, connect with myself, which then connected me to nature and a higher power and then led me.
Mar, thank you so much for being with us. Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to give us information to let them know how they can reach out to you if they're interested in doing what you do and then some, or helping someone in their own community but how can people reach you, or what should they do if they're interested in coaching, or even if it's for others or for themselves? Where do they go? How can they find you?
Thank you, Laura. My website is parentinghealthinstitute.com. There's where you can learn all about the coaching aspect of it. If you want to follow me for education, tips, just fun inspiration, you can follow me on Instagram at Mar_De Carlo.
Hmm.
But yeah, visit our website and just learn about everything we have. We've got our blog that shares a lot of information. I have a lot of guides. I have
Hmm.
teen sleep guides. I have self care for mompreneur guides. I just gave a gift of a client a breakthrough coaching guide. Anyway, so there's lots of free information and gifts that I give away, along with we have a Facebook group if you want to join our Facebook group and get a
Hmm.
lot of inspiration there from a lot of our graduates, and just you can ask questions and learn different things. So those are the two main ways. And I just also want to take the opportunity to appreciate you, Laura, for all that you're doing, and
Well,
congratulating
thank
you
you.
for your podcast.
Thank
And
you.
it's called Bar. Is it Bar Fitness? What's the
It's
podcast called?
it's it's Bear Speak now, but Bear Fitness. Bear Fitness was the actual TV show that I was doing for several years, and then we had the idea to do the actual show. So, and that's how it all came about. So, I mean, at this point, yeah, it's Bear Speak, and I thought, what better way to help people than doing it this way?
I love it. I love it. And congratulations, Bear Speak. And one day I'd love to go on live with you and interview you, because it would be great for everybody
I'd
to hear
love
your
that.
story and how you've evolved, because you also have gone through a number of changes. And me being on the other side,
Yes,
even though it's online connected, seeing you go through these different
this is
stages
true.
of growth, it's beautiful. And you have your own studio as well. So for those of you, I'm sure you're following Laura, so you know, but she's got her studio as well. So you're an incredible businesswoman on all fronts and reaching out in so many ways.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time today. Everyone, I think that's going to be it for us today. I'm your host, Laura Williamson. This is Bear Speak. And you definitely want to check this show out and come check in again. We have other awesome topics with other amazing guests, just like Mar. Mar, thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.